let's go, we're on a mission. Recognize we've got that power. And we make sure that you know it. Got that pride, go ahead and show it. Stand up, fight back, no time for hoping. Recognize we got that power.
Good afternoon. You are now tuned in to the Elife Power Lunch Show with Dr. Baruch and Chris Murray. How are you?
I am doing great, Chris. How about yourself?
I am wonderful. Glad to be back in the studio again.
Right.
Looking forward to today's show.
We got a little bit of an echo, but it's cool. I think we might resolve that. Engineering button moving and stuff. But yeah, I'm doing good. How about you? You enjoying the weather?
Yes, I am. It's somewhere right in between. I don't like it too cold, but I think we're good for a couple more weeks.
No, I like it hot.
Hot.
I really do like it hot. I enjoy the hot weather. I appreciate it because I know that there's a lot of energy in that heat, you know.
Right.
So it's definitely something that I look forward to. I do not look forward to the cold, even though when it's cold, you can put on a jacket and,
right,
warm up.
Right.
But when it's hot, you got to get inside, I guess. You need an air conditioner.
Right. Grab some fresh fruit.
Yeah.
I like to do that. Watermelon cools me down.
Oh, get in the ocean.
Yes,
yeah,
that too. See, there are things you can do.
There you go.
That's right. Well, today we have a great show. We have a very special guest with us. But we'll go ahead and start with our hot topic. I'm excited about it today because, as you guys may have known, Jay-Z released his 13th studio album just recently. And it was a big deal. Mainly because he addressed some of the cheating rumors for those of us who are into kind of entertainment news. But what I thought was more significant is the fact that he addressed some financial things within his lyrics. And I'll just read a little bit of that for those of you who may not have heard his song, The Story of OJ. You familiar with that song?
I am familiar.
You listen to Jay-Z? Oh, okay. As of this morning. Okay. So we're prepared. Okay.
I didn't know whether that was OJ, like OJ Simpson or OJ Orange Juice,
right,
or OJ, the guy who wrote that song where he says at the end something about you're nothing but a squirrel trying to anyway. But
yeah. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
Orange Juice Jones. A music aficionado right here inside of the studio.
Right. Exactly. So he talks about credit, which is not something that we normally hear about in rap songs. And I'm going to paraphrase a little bit because I'm not going to read the direct lyrics here. But financial freedom, my only hope. Forget living rich and dying broke. I bought some artwork for $1 million. 2 years later, it's worth $2 million. Few years later, it's worth $8 million. I can't wait to give it to my children. Y'all think it's bougie. I'm like, it's fine, but I'm trying to give you $1 million worth of game for $9.99. So that, of course, sparked a conversation on social media. Dr. Boyce Watkins had comments about it and a lot of others. So I wanted to just bring that to the table to see what you thought about it and kind of how it has impacted our community, especially in terms of financial literacy.
Well, I think, and it's a great time, of course, to bring in our guest who is in the studio, because we want to talk about this, but we want to talk about this across, with an expert.
Yes.
I know a little something, but we got an expert in the studio. Brother Doyle Mitchell, President, CEO of Industrial Bank here in the Washington, D.C. area. Thank you, Brother Doyle, for coming out today. We appreciate you coming into the studio.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, indeed.
Pleasure to be in your spot once again.
Thank you.
It's been way too long.
Without you, I don't know whether we've been here, so we're thankful for you.
Well, God bless you. We appreciate you and Chris, and she's obviously up on the hot topics.
She's up on the hot topics. A lot more than she gave it to me this morning. Okay, read over this. This is what we're going to talk about.
Yes.
But when I remember, I was in a camera shop, and I can't remember the name of it. It was on East Street down there by 9th and East Street, and I'm in there purchasing some camera equipment. I watched a guy purchase the exact same camera that I was purchasing, and then I walked up to the counter and I said, I thought I wasn't going to need that much money, but I don't have that much money. Is there any chance that you have an open box or return unit or whatever? And the guy took this moment to teach me a class. He said, it's rare that I find somebody who's interested in getting, something that's next to new. Understanding that once you pull that, shutter, then it's now used. So it's a used piece of equipment. He said, but for you to have a mindset at your age, I was like 14, 15 years of age. He said, for you to have that at that age, I want to help you. So he gave me the price at camera at a crazy price. And he said, you know, I want you to remember this day. And to this day, I remember this day. He said, you buy it for 50 cents and sell it for $1. He said, just remember that. And he said, when you purchase things, don't purchase things that depreciate, purchase items that appreciate. So it just blew me away as a youngster that somebody looked at me and said those things about me. And I think about, you know, what is happening with financial literacy in our community and what Jay-Z is talking about that we need to get on top of. And now, rather than continue to listen to me, we're going to listen to Brother Doyle Mitchell of Industrial Bank. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Good to be on the show. But you know, that lesson is very important. It's very important for Black people because, number one, we just spend too much money on unnecessary things. And I recently did a workshop over at Reed Temple and realized that I had an opportunity to talk to people about money and money in our community. And while people talk about how much money we have and our buying power, you know, just because you have a lot of buying power doesn't mean you need to spend it all.
Right.
And you know, particularly on material things, as in the lesson that the manager or the store owner taught you, is we just need to keep some of our money in our pocket and be a little more frugal about it.
That's it. And I can't also forget something that I learned as a youngster. A guy kept on talking about legacy wealth. And he constantly was talking about legacy. He's actually a politician, and he was talking about in Prince George's County that we need to retain and we need to secure and appreciate our legacy wealth. So again, that was one of those things that stayed in my mind and has been on my mind. I have 4 children, and I'm always thinking about, okay, what is it that I'm going to be able to give them that boost, not only after I've expired physically, but also while I'm here. You know, what is it that I can do to help support them?
You're absolutely right, and that was one of the things I spoke on too. Spoke on as well. You know, in our community, we do not pass on wealth to our children, and you know, the old money in this country is 5-6 generations old, and we think we don't have enough to pass on. We don't think we have an estate, but everybody has an estate. Everybody should plan for their demise and pass on whatever it is they have. And if you don't have a will, then the state is going to govern where those assets go. But so everybody should plan for it, particularly if there's a significant asset involved, a house. You know, sometimes if you have brothers and sisters, one may want the home, one may not. How do you handle that? And there are ways, you know, through life insurance and trust planning and so on and so forth. So you don't have to have $5 million. You don't have to be Jay-Z to plan for your estate or your parents' estate. And there's ways that siblings, if you really want to talk about it before something happens, you can work it out.
And that's the time to talk about it, before something happens.
Absolutely.
Because afterwards, you might not be a part of the conversation.
You may not be part of the conversation, or the conversation won't be pretty.
Right. And I've seen that. Well, let's talk about what the bank is offering, because I know you all are entrenched in the community. You're doing some really good things, and you're helping us understand how money works. And a lot of us aren't getting that, you know, from home. Nobody's telling us how to do that at home. So we're getting this exposure through the bank. Tell us some of the programs that you have, and maybe some of the things that you have in the not too distant future that we could learn from.
Well, one of the things that we do a lot of is we're getting intently focused on small business. That's number one, and personal financial planning, like we've just been speaking about. And we have relationships with estate attorneys, estate planning attorneys. We have a relationship with life insurance companies, and so we can bring that whole package together. First of all, we publicize how important it is to plan for your own estate, and then we have resources to bring those things together and show you how to do it. In addition to that, we are putting together a much more cohesive small business program. Small businesses generate the jobs in this country. Unfortunately, the large companies are getting larger and larger, and they are sometimes squeezing out small businesses. But if you really want to have a strong economy, you'll have a strong small business community, and we're doing a lot with small businesses on the SBA side. And as you want to talk about today, we love to do financial literacy counseling, and that is a mix of a broad number of topics, everything from estate planning to home ownership to starting a small business to budgeting. You name it, we will speak on it.
Right. And speaking of that, I think it's really important, obviously. That's why we're discussing it, but how do you really get into the mindset shift? Because I know when we're offering classes and tons of information, which is usually available through programs like the ones that you have, but how do we get our people in a mindset where they're taking advantage of it? They see it as valuable.
Well, you know what? I'm not sure if I have the answer to that. You know, I think what we have to do is talk about it more. And there is, in the last 5 to 10 years, there is a willingness for us to talk about finances and education and the fact that we don't have it all. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying I don't know what to do with all of my money. So. You know, we have to really get used to the fact that it's okay not to know. And I think the last crisis was evident that Americans, not just African Americans or Latino Americans, but all Americans did not know enough about buying a home and financing a home. And so, you know, now that it's out there, let's just talk about it, because the only way we can get better and accumulate wealth is, first of all, admit that we don't know. So if you want to improve your financial situation and you say that, then you got to do something. You can't just sit there and behave the way that you used to behave. You got to go get some knowledge. And, you know, internet's a good place to start, but, you know, obviously through the financial crisis, we also learned that everyone you rely on is not telling you the truth. And so you need trusted partners like Industrial Bank that want to put your needs first. We will prosper as everybody else prospers. So we don't have to set sales goals, you know, solely working against your worst interest.
Right. And I'd like to take it back a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the experience of being a black bank. You guys were founded August 20th, which is coming up, in 1934. That wasn't just a few years ago. Tell us about that experience.
It's been actually a wonderful experience. It's been wonderful, and it's been a struggle and a challenge all at the same time. African American banks have declined in their numbers from a total of, or a high of about 55, 60, down to about 22 today. And that's not good for our community. It really isn't. Now people say, well, why is it? Why does it matter? Number one, Industrial Bank is a community bank. It means we operate in our community, we take deposits from our community, and, you know, the vast majority of our loans goes back into the community. We're also obviously black owned, which means our focus originally was just solely on black people that could not get services anywhere else. Well, our heart is still with the black community, because that's who I am. That's what we are. But at the same time, we see other people nowadays being abused by institutions, and you don't necessarily have to be black. One of the frustrations is getting more African Americans to come and bank with us. Come and bank with us. You know, there are 80 Asian banks, and they have 12 banks that are over $5 billion in total assets. If you add all the black banks together, we're about $5 billion. All 20 of us. They have 12 that are over $5 billion, and the largest one is $35 billion. So it's been a little frustrating. It's been very rewarding, because we constantly hear stories about, I got my first home there, I opened my first account there, I sent my children to college for the first time. And I've heard stories back to your grandfather, your father. Do you remember, Doyle, when you did such and such? And I'm like, no, but you can remind me.
Right.
You know, because that's just what we do.
That's
just what we do. We don't spend a lot of time patting ourselves on the back about it. But we've been financially successful. You know, we didn't lose any money through the recession. So, you know, we're trying to be prudent in running our bank. And at the same time, do things that other banks won't do.
Sure.
And that's an interesting tightrope to walk.
Yeah.
But we do it.
That's it.
I'm not sure I know how. I think God is got everything to do with our success. There's no question about that. But still being able to make money and doing some things that a lot of other lenders just wouldn't do.
Sure. We're talking to Doyle Mitchell, native Washingtonian, and didn't know that you were from Washington. That's what's up, Doyle.
Yeah,
Don't tell me he's from Southeast. Don't say Southeast up here.
Well, I'm not from Southeast, but
Okay.
I am a native Washingtonian. I do live here in Prince George County now.
That's good. That's
So-
good. I'm with you. That's where I am as well. And we're talking about financial literacy. We're talking about the Industrial Bank, one of the oldest African-American Black-owned banks in the nation. And it's exciting to hear the things that you're sharing with us. But it makes me reflect back on, you talked about the crisis that we experienced during 2008. We've also experienced another kind of, maybe not crisis, maybe a boom. Over the course of the last 2 to 3 years with the Black Lives Matter, with all kinds of information coming out about us supporting one another, and we wouldn't do ourselves this way, so why don't we support ourselves so that we can empower our own community? How has that whole movement been, how has it impacted the bank?
It's been good. We opened 5,000 new accounts in 2016. It was a total of $20 million. So it's been good. It's been good. The thing is, that kind of happened to our banking industry. We didn't send out the message. And, I love Killer Mike and all the other entertainers that have supported the movement. We need it. But what we really need is not just a transaction. It's okay somebody comes in and opens up a bank account with $100, $500. And many, there's been quite a few people that have opened up with significant amounts of money. But we want a relationship. We just don't want, you to open up a $100 or $500 account and go away and think you've done your part in saving the world. Number one, we've got a whole lot to offer you if we can show you. We would like more of your relationship that's elsewhere, number one. We have a lot of money in a lot of large banks that are not doing some really good things. So, community banks and black banks, we do a lot of great stuff. So it's been good, but we need people to make themselves avail themselves to more of our services. We need people to borrow money from us, buy homes from us. And not always those that are struggling and can't get it anywhere else.
Right.
We'll help those as much as we can, and we do. But, sometimes we need some of the easier deals to do too. And sometimes blacks, let's just face it, sometimes when they think they don't need you, then they go elsewhere, only to find out sometimes they should have been with you all along.
Sure.
So.
Right. Can you walk us a little bit further through that process for those of us who may not be aware when we're opening a bank account with you and we start to build that relationship? What does that really look like when you take the money and you give back to the community? Like, how does it really work?
Let me before I answer that, let me just explain some things. We had to turn away a lot of people and open up banking accounts because they had balances at other banks, and while we actually changed our policies to be more liberal, which actually in some ways means more risk to us, because we could be the next bank that gets stuck with an overdraft balance. We made our policies more liberal to get more people in because we know a lot of people had the right motive in mind. But once you open up a bank account, then we will start to begin to tell you about all of our products and services. May not happen right at that moment, but over time, we have an email blast list, texts that we can send out. We're on social media. You can find out a lot of things about what we do on social media. And as a matter of fact, we've got 2 home readiness workshops coming up. One is even a certified program, so you can go to a lender, hopefully it's us, and you can say, I've gone through the home readiness program, because everybody's not quite ready. The website is a good resource to see all the different things that we do. But I have to say, while we are in this technological age, our people, there's just no substitute for our people. You've got to come in and talk to our people. And you know, we love to give information.
That's it.
If you come in and there's not a line full of people, then you could talk to your branch manager or your personal banker and ask them, how do I buy a home? How do I improve my credit? And they'll give you, and they'll spend as much time as they can, you know, giving you that kind of information.
That's great. That's great. When I think about my start in the food industry, selling healthy food, I hear some, you know, energy that is similar in the sense that I had to educate my consumer. You know, once I educated my consumer, then they understood the value of my being in the community, me being present. And I see those same customers coming in every single day, some of them, because they got it. They understood the why, and they understood what it is that we're trying to make happen, you know, as far as improving the quality of health in our community. And that leads me into my question. You know, we see that one of the biggest detriments or what diminishes our wealth more than probably anything else is our health. When we get sick, you're ready to exhaust the bank account just to hold on for another 6 months in a physical state that may not even be functional, but you know, because you just want to see mama, you know, breathing. You know, we do that, and that's a tough one. That's a tough conversation to have, and it's not a banker that would have that. You know, you need to let mama go. You can't have that as a banker, but you know, it would be good if we're educated on the value of our health in this whole conversation about legacy wealth. Because if you took better care of yourself, then you wouldn't find yourself at 6 months before you're dying, spending, I think they say up to 80% of their wealth is spent in those last 6 months of their life, trying to hold on to whatever, you know, little bit of life they still have inside of them. You know, so I bring that up as kind of a question, a comment, and a proposition. You know, I'd love to begin to educate your consumer and educate the broader audience about the impact and the positive thing that you can do for yourself by taking better care of yourself.
I mean, I'm over here chomping at the bit because when I did my presentation over at Reed, I had 2 slides on health and wealth. And I'm not a doctor, so I didn't want to go into it too much. You know, I'm self-proclaimed because I saw the documentary, What the Health.
Okay.
And so now I think I know everything about it. But, you know, I did some research on it, and there is a direct correlation. Even before the last 6 months of your life, there's a direct correlation between wealth and health. There's no question about it. If you start to study it, those of us, obviously, that smoke or have certain conditions, spend more money. There's some states that now can refuse to, employers can now refuse to insure you because you might be a smoker, or charge you higher healthcare premiums because you're a smoker, or this or that. And so I don't know all those details, but I know when you're sick, you can't work.
That's right.
And if you're an hourly employee, then you don't get paid if you don't come in. And it all goes back to what you do, which is why I'm chomping at the bit, because the connection is strong, and just how we take care of ourselves, just how we take care of ourselves, and what we eat.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And it has to do with, I believe, self-esteem as well. If you value yourself at a higher level, then you're going to spend your money differently. You know, you may save more because, you know, you're worth it, because you'll be around long enough to take that vacation, or, you know, buy that dream car, or give back to the community. So I think that plays into it as well.
I can't remember a group of black women that actually did these social circles. And the long story short, they were focused on women who, because of their self-esteem, had bad eating habits. And so they would get to the root of what was the issue, which was leading to their eating habits. And so you're right, it actually goes deeper than just what you eat. It's just why do you eat what you...
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think we look at our partnership. You know, we bring attention to it. You know, I don't know whether you caught it when you came in, but we bring attention to the fact that we.
I catch a lot of things when I come
in,
right. Including the watermelons right there.
There we go. Yeah. There we go. But I said, you know, we need to let our customer know that these are the kind of, and I was thinking, I said, I need my electrician, my plumber, my lawyer, my accountant. I need to put all of them up so that they understand that when we're trying to break this cycle of the money staying in our community for, what is it, 6 seconds or 6 minutes or whatever that is?
6 hours.
6 hours, okay. So we're trying to break that cycle. We're showing that our money's going through this bank, our money's going to this accountant, to this whatever, and we want to build that as an example, so that others can see that that when they do business with us, that we're not just employing the 45 or 50 employees that Everlasting Life and the restaurants we have, but now we're employing other people. So we're now increasing, the net worth of people in our community, reducing the likelihood of crime, because if you got a job, you're not as inclined to go out and knock somebody over on the head to get the money that they work to get.
Right, exactly.
So it's so we believe in that partnership, and we want to build that partnership. And I think about, those of us who don't have, like for me, I would probably fit in the category of, I've got decent cash flow, but I got hit by the 2008, crisis. It was a difficult time, but we got through it. But now I'm looking to partner with people who maybe have better credibility, and I can bring a cash flow, I can bring street credibility. I can, everybody knows me, I know I've been in business for I don't know how long, but, so I'm looking at, is there any educational forum that you all are working to show us how we can bring 10 people together and buy a $2 million home, as opposed to, each of us buy a $158,000 home, and it never really amounts to much.
Not exactly, but
Okay.
I think given what has been going on with Black Lives Matter, banking black, buying black, and I do have to give a shout out to the U.S. Black Chamber, because they promote buying black and banking black. And my presentation at Reed, shout out to Pastor Elife Washington, my pastor. I think our evolution at the bank is going to go beyond just doing workshops and doing financial literacy. I think there has to come something a little more strategic in all of that. So I can't say we've got anything right now, but if you follow us on Facebook and Twitter and all of that, you'll see where we're starting to go with these things.
Right now, but it doesn't preclude me from going out and getting those 10 people and saying, look, we're going to do this through industrial bank.
Absolutely, and you should.
Yep.
And you should. There should be more investment clubs, more savings clubs. You can start a savings club in your house. Let's us as a family. I remember probably 20 years ago at our family reunion, we said, let's just chip in some money together. And we just saved some money. We never made an investment, but what we did, eventually, it made one of our trips cheaper.
Yeah.
So, you can do it in small groups, larger groups, but we need to, it could be a literacy club.
Sure.
Let's get together and share some information that we know is accurate with each other, and talk about ideas. Is a reverse mortgage good for us? Is it not? Or when is it good? What is the difference between term life, whole life insurance? So you could start a literacy club, savings club, investment club. We are all trying to do the same thing separately.
Yeah.
Right.
And we need to kind of stop that.
Yeah.
Right. And
Latinos,
that's what I was
they've
gonna
got
say.
the number on that one.
Yeah.
They've got the number on that one.
Yeah, and that's why conversations like this are so important, because, like you said, we have the partnership. You made a choice to bank black and to make sure that all of your professional services are with people who look like us. But just having this platform to share that so other people can see it in practice. It's not just talk. We're actually doing it, and then joining forces. Like, I know you guys do talk separately, but doing those together, where you have the health and wealth, and you have experts from both arenas, that's where it's going to come, and working together.
CEOs from black banks are now talking more about the daily issues that we have, rather than being in different cities and facing the same problems, and everyone's trying to solve the problem themselves.
Right.
Sure. Now, what about the future of the bank? What's happening with Industrial Bank as far as the technology, what's happening with industrial bank as far as keeping on par with, maybe some of the, I know that I can't compete with some folk out there. There's just some folks that I just say, okay, y'all are gonna be there and I'm gonna be over here. It's cool for now, but at some point I do have to recognize, okay, it's time for us to upgrade from the regular cash register, the ones that used to manually open up to, to an iPad. So I made that tough decision. I was like, I don't know. But we did it. And how do you see things changing in the not too distant future with regard to industrial bank and that technology and apps and where things are going?
Well, I think we are keeping up.
Great.
But I'll quantify that in just a moment. I mean, we've got online banking, we've got our mobile app out there. We are constantly looking at new software platform packages that we need. We have a wonderful Kasasa account that not hardly anybody in this area has, where you can actually get paid 2.5% on your checking account balances if you do certain things. If you have electronic statements, you swipe your card a certain number of times a month, and that product has grown by leaps and bounds for us. Really looking towards the future, what we're doing right now is we're looking at it. We're having a technology infrastructure assessment done. So we're looking at everything that has to do with technology in our bank and making sure that we've got it designed appropriately and efficiently so that we can start to add on things that we really want to add on. Are we going to ever have all the bells and whistles of a $1 trillion bank? We don't even, we probably wouldn't even want to.
Right.
Because it wouldn't be worth the cost to go through that because, two people want X, Y, Z. What we want is to have those things that our customers need and that can make their job a little easier, particularly when it comes to banking. For small businesses, you can actually download your statement information into, if you have some of the software packages that keep your book, QuickBooks or things like that. And we're trying to improve upon that. So those things that bring you value added we want. But the bigger picture is we're trying to make sure that we're set up for the future.
Sure.
Where are we going to be in 5 and 10 years? How large are we going to be? And what areas do we want to be in?
I would say if I had a wish list, I know one of the things that I would wish, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I bank at like 3 in the morning. I don't know why, because that's just the way my life is. It's just like, oh yeah, I gotta make that deposit. And I go and I can put that cash in, boom, and I can, it can do what it's doing. So that would be my wish list. If you could put that one on the wish list, so you could accept cash.
Cash out of the ATMs?
ATM.
Actually, the first ATM that we're going to have to do that, we're going to put in about 60 days.
Oh,
it won't be everywhere.
Don't say Forestville.
It won't be Forestville. I wish it could be Forestville. We're doing a full-fledged renovation of it, 11th and U Street.
Oh, okay.
Excuse me. And that was our flagship branch. Yeah. That area's changed a lot. So we totally redid the inside.
Great.
We're doing the outside, and then when we do the outside, we'll have an ATM that's got more of those bells and whistles on it. Okay. So once you start one, you'll get to the other ones. We may actually have a new branch. I don't know if I should say this, Mel, in Largo.
So nice. That would really be nice.
So if that happens in the next 12 to 18 months, we'll have one of those machines there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, let me throw something that just came out, and I don't know how this fits even into a bank scenario. People are opening up different branches of the bank. Is there such a thing as a franchise branch of a bank?
No.
No, it doesn't work.
Not really.
Because I'm just thinking, if I could get my millionaire friends, and we come to you and we say, look, we want to get in the banking business. And we're prepared to give you, $50 million. Don't even think that I've gotten anything near 50 million.
45. Okay.
Okay, 45. Yeah. That is there a way for us to get in that business, or
you could start a bank? Well, there has been banks that actually own a number of different banks, but it's not really a franchise that you say, okay, I want to own my location under the umbrella of industrial bank. I've never really heard of that. Okay. You can actually buy some stock in our bank if you wanted.
There we go.
Because we would like to have more community ownership in our bank, particularly as we get larger. But I gotta tell you a secret.
Okay.
If I wasn't in banking, I wouldn't go in banking.
I say the same thing about restaurants, brother. I say the same thing.
People don't believe me. They think I'm trying to keep out competition, which I'm not, because I mean there's 6,000 banks in the country. Who has more competition than we do? And that doesn't include credit unions. But it's just too regulated. It's just too regulated. So 20 and 30 years ago, when I could really help someone that I thought had the character, they may not show on paper, but they had the character that I said, you know what, they'll get through this. They've got a good plan. They told me the whole truth. They didn't leave anything out, and I take a chance. Nowadays, it's much harder to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
Or I take the hit from the regulators. Why did you do this? Or why did you do that? Well, they're still paying. Well, you shouldn't have done that.
Right.
So it's a little different kind of a business. I don't know what I would do. I'd do something else.
I was just thinking about Jay-Z's song, you know, and Jay-Z is now worth $500 million or $1 billion, whatever he's worth between him and his wife. And, you know, that they need to, of course, he's doing some good things with the music and the entertainment industry, but I wonder whether he's interested or open to the idea of infrastructure, you know, the community infrastructure. Is there so much that we could do? You know, when we look at the statistics, I was listening to statistics the other day, and they said that 12% of the African American 8th grade boys cannot read at a 3rd grade level. Excuse me, I said that wrong. Only 12%, or less than 12%, can read at a 3rd grade level, and that's pretty bad. That's dismal.
That's sad.
What is that going to look like? You know, because are they going to go to college? Are they going to go to do anything? Are they going to go to a trade school? Are they going to be able to do anything in their life other than do something that may not be appropriate, that'll land them in jail or in trouble? And now, of course, your credit score means so much. You know, it's like shackles at times.
You know, it all comes back to us recycling money in our own community. You know, and not just athletes and entertainers that have Jay-Z kind of money, but, you know, athletes and entertainers that, you know, just make a decent living. And then the middle class all around us. You know, we have to put money back in our communities. When we put money back in our communities and we bank black and we buy black, then we employ black. It just happens that way. You know, Asian business owners, by and large, employ Asians. Why? Because they know your son, I'll give your son a job, and I'll give your cousin a job. And it's not discrimination at all. It's just, we would hire more people. If we spend only 3% of our money in the black community, in black businesses. If we took it to 10, then we would employ 1 million people. 1 million people overnight. Now that gives those young men in school something to strive for. You know, they think, okay, you know what? Maybe education really does mean something to me. And so maybe I'll try a little harder. You know, my dad's got a job, and because my dad has a job, you know, maybe he feels better about himself. He's in the home, and so maybe I'm not distracted in school. You know, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why those stats are the way they are, and a lot of it just comes down to employment for African American men and women to feel like they can, you know, put their, you know, they can take care of their families.
Exactly, and that's why leading by example is important. Supporting the community is important because we are a product of our environment. You know, we do what we see. Our self-esteem is set based off of our environment and what we're being told.
That's right.
So if we're being fed negativity and we're always down, we're always broke, then that's what we come to expect.
We need a full-fledged effort to save our communities. Because we're really in trouble. I mean, we African Americans are losing. We're in 3rd and 4th place now in almost every category. Incarceration, education, wealth, you know, and Asians and Latinos, God bless them. They have passed us by. They have passed us by. Why? Because they recycle money in their own community. And for some reason, we still feel like we want to spend money out there as if that's, you know, that might make us feel good in the short term, but in the long run, all it does is devastate our communities.
We're talking again to Brother Doyle Mitchell of Industrial Bank here in the Washington, D.C. area, and we're talking about health literacy. We're talking about a concept that many of us, you know, I can reflect on the day when a white guy came to me and he said, you know, he's a banker, he said, black people know money and finance like white people know dancing and rhythm. And I said, whoa, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. But I got it. I got it. And I think it's time for us to get educated so that we know. I remember playing Monopoly, you know, and I understand, okay, I'm going to buy that product because when you land on it, I'm getting paid. And I can think about my life today. You know, I got a couple pieces of property, and when people land on it, get paid.
Yeah.
You know, it works that way. So that was a training ground for me where I got a chance to practice it in the game setting, you know, and see it now played out in real life. I just, you were talking about community. And what is it that, you know, business like mine, I have restaurants and other business, other very small businesses. What is it that you do in partnership with businesses like ours? You know, is there any special programs? Is there any budget that you all have where you say, you know, we're going to do some really good community programming and we're going to reach out to our customer base, our business customer base, and offer them this package? You know, is there anything like that?
That's actually one of the things that we're working on to strengthen. We are a preferred SBA lender.
Okay.
Number one, we do on the financial literacy side. Let me just start there. I mean, we do how to get a bank loan, how to prepare for a bank loan. So we do all the financial literacy just for small businesses that applies to small businesses. Number one, and we are an SBA preferred lender, so we have a little more authority to make loans without having to go through SBA for certain types of loans. What we are trying to put together now is more services that are a little more comprehensive for small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
It might make a good focus group to bring some small businesses together and see what the needs are.
Right.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe we could do that because I know enough of them. A lot of small business folk meet or eat here at the restaurant. Maybe that would be something we could do. We could set it up and bring you in to, you know, tell us how to navigate that relationship so that, you know, we know how to get ourselves together before we even start the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we have the conversation, you know, what kind of expectation we can have, because sometimes I think people have an unrealistic expectation that all of a sudden now, just because I got a 700 credit score, I'm gonna get a $20 million loan, because, you know, it should just work that way, you know. And then also you being able to evaluate our assets. You know, I got property, and I don't know the value. I don't know how to, you know, necessarily translate the value of that property like somebody who's in that business, who's a lender, who could say, yeah, well, it's worth $1 million, but you're only going to be able to get 800,000 out of it, you know, but we can do this at this interest rate, and this gives you the capacity to do whatever with all that credit card debt that is up here. This will be a lower rate, you know, all those kind of things. I do look forward to, you know, doing something.
And we're good at listening.
Great.
You know, one of the things that we are we realize is that we have to hear from our customers, or even those that are not our customers, about, okay, what are the challenges you have in small businesses? What is it you need in small business? And let's go. Or what does this bank have that we don't have?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm open to that. I want to hear it. And
Great.
so, you know, if it makes sense and we can work it out financially within the bank, I want to make sure that we've got it. You know, and we bring value.
Mm-hmm. How is this market? You know, today's market is, you know, is changing, and it is changing with the advent of the Trump era. How is the market working for the bank? You know,
Locally, D.C.,
Yeah.
Prince George's County, or just in the region?
and for you locally, and also
It's
you know,
good.
beyond.
It's good because in Washington, D.C., a lot of people are moving back into the city,
Mm-hmm.
and so the population is going up.
Yeah.
So the need for housing is going up, which increases the price of housing.
Mm.
So that's always good. We have people renovating houses. We do a lot of renovation loans, multifamily loans, a lot of commercial real estate. You know, SBA has a 504 loan product for those that want to own the building that they're in, and you can get that if you qualify. You can buy a building for only 10% down for a commercial piece of property, as opposed to 20 and 25 and 30% down, and it's just a wonderful product. But the real estate market is really good. We have since 1934 and still do love to lend to churches. We lend to churches all the time. So the market is really good. You always have to be careful because economic cycles go up and go down. Right. They always have, they always will. And you know, with the government spending more than it can, at some point it might have to shift a little bit.
And you talked about your website, but I want to make sure before we go that we have that information of how people can reach out to you.
If you want to call on the phone, it's 202-722-2000. The website is www.industrial-bank.com. And you can find us on Facebook at Industrial Bank 1934. And our Twitter handle is at Bank Industrial. So you can find us all of those places.
Okay. Perfect. And
Please get in touch with us.
Yes.
We want folks to get in touch and stay connected. Follow us, like us, so you can find out when all of the workshops are going on. We've got 2 coming up, and you can find out when the details on those through our social media sites.
Right. And you guys have locations all throughout the area, so
We've got 2 not too far from here, 2 in Prince George's County, 5 in Washington, D.C., and we might even be adding another one in Prince George's County.
That's what's up.
But you can open accounts online.
okay.
You don't always have to come in.
Okay.
You know, most people like the face-to-face involvement, and we tell you the truth, we've got the technology, but we really like to touch people.
Right.
But you can open accounts online.
Great. Well, again, it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to building and strengthening the relationship. And hopefully my little blip on the map over there when somebody's doing their numbers at the end of the month, they say, oh, look at little everlasting life. You know, we'll continue to strengthen, you know, our relationship from our end. And, you know, whatever it is that we can do together, you know, I'm excited about it. You know, I'm a business person, you know, like you being regulated. There are regulations that we impose upon ourselves as well as the state and federal here in the restaurant space world, you know, in that world as well. But definitely looking to figure out how we, you know, regardless of what else is out there that may be wanting us to not do so, that we come together and we figure it out. Even if we have to do so, you know, turn off the camera and, you know, the cloak of darkness. No, not we wouldn't do that. But yeah, so I look forward to that.
Well, you know what? Thank you for having me on, you and Chris. It's been a pleasure. And what I will commit, number one, is we will do a session here on small business. And when we do these things, we promote them out. Melanie Woodard over there she'll hold my feet to the fire, and we'll make sure that we blast it out and bring some attention to the store. And since I'm now a self-proclaimed vegan,
Yeah.
not all the time. No, I actually had chicken a couple of days ago, but I'll commit to come through here and eat more.
There we go.
So you know, and we'll show people the connection between health and wealth.
That is great. That is great. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Chris, what you got for us?
So we have some exciting things coming up here at Everlasting Life. We know we have the Solstice Bazaar, which has now gotten a makeover, and it's called the Black
Wall Street
Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
So you can check those out first of the month. But we don't want to ignore our sponsor, Glamour Dominican Salon, which is located at 8000 Martin Luther King Jr. Highway in Glen Arden, Maryland. If you like getting your hair blown out, that's definitely the place to be. On Tuesdays, they offer $15 off any wash and set or blowout. So you can go and get that discount, get your colors, cuts, and curls. No appointment is necessary, and they're open 7 days a week for your convenience. So make sure you check those ladies out there in Glen Arden, Maryland.
Mm-hmm. Also, Everlasting Life. Of course, we have 3 locations. That's Everlasting Life, Evolve Vegan Restaurant, and Vigoritos are 3 places where you can get that vegan food on Doyle. And we are open in Maryland from 10 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock in the evening, except on Sunday where we're open from 10 until 7. And in DC, where ours a little different in Tacoma Park, just because people don't come home until the evening, and it's not really an in-town kind of hangout in Tacoma Park area yet, but it's coming. We're open at Evolve from 5 to 9, and at Vigoritos we're open from 12 until 8. So real staggered time. So for those of us who want to get out there and get something healthy to eat. We do have our juice special that is going on. We have a special juice program for those of us who want to lose weight and be healthier and feel vibrant and, you know, clean up our skin and our complexion and so on and so forth. All that good stuff comes when you put good stuff inside of you. So that's available here at Everlasting Life. And we're going to come back to Chris and I for a minute. That I'm doing the verbal engineering. But Chris, the work that we're doing with Everlasting Life and Evolve and Vigoritos in the presence of, or right after hearing about the What the Health video.
Right.
What do you think about that What the Health video? It's so impactful that has brought us the increased customer base. And what is it that we can do to broccoli back off of that video and then, you know, amplify?
Right. Right, I think it's been incredible. I mean, I've been here and I've seen the line all the way through our second door, if you guys are familiar with the space here. I think just sharing that information, and if you've watched it, you see some of the personal testimony from people that look like us. So I think that's one of the things that has been most impactful. Just seeing, you know, Auntie May or, you know, Grandma or Mom, and saying, look, they're not doing things that are right, but there's something that we can do about it. And for those people who are familiar with us, they found us to be that solution.
Yeah.
So it's not just about hearing the information, but being able to come down, get the food, being able to come down and talk to you and get their questions answered, and just, like I said, have a solution, an actual solution that is helpful and not harmful, and we're not making money, you know, off of their illnesses. So I think that's definitely the big thing about it.
Yeah. Well, I would say yes to everything that you're saying, and I would also add to that, the reality is that it's the Trump era, and we're looking at news and information being presented to us differently. They exposed the American Heart Association, the cancer, the diabetes. They exposed everybody, and it's interesting because we're looking at people who are white exposing people who are white, and that's like, y'all ain't supposed to be doing that.
Right.
What y'all doing? Y'all supposed to be working against us. But you know, to see that is happening is that's a nice look, you know. And I think that's one of the things. It was so political, and it was exposing everybody who you thought were doing good for you.
Right.
But yeah, they haven't necessarily done us right.
Right.
And so I look forward to figuring out how we're going to bring that into what it is that we offer as an educational platform towards, you know, better health literacy.
Right.
I think if we knew more about what it is that we could do to maintain our health and to avoid cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and whatever else, then I think we would do it. But it ties back in with what you said, and that is that we have to feel better about ourselves.
Exactly.
And if we felt better about ourselves, and that comes down to everything, you know, as much as, you know, we joke around, you know, our engineer today, you know, we lift each other up, you know, especially when we're on camera, you know, we lift each other up, you know, and my engineer is the best engineer. You know? But talking about Brother Io here in the studio with us today, and if we lift one another up, it kind of qualifies us to now do better. You know, because it's like, well, you think of me as a king? I call you a queen? You know, man, I should act like a queen. Maybe I should dress differently, talk differently, hang out with different people, hang out with some other queens.
Exactly.
And I think that's all time.
And then you attract different people in that way too, because when you change it up, then you know you see who's in tune with whatever's going on, and there's a huge change. But again, going back to What the Health, I know we have movie night this week. You don't want to forget to mention that we're actually showing What the Health. So if you haven't had an opportunity to see it, the best place to watch it is right here with us at Everlasting Life. That's 9185 Central Avenue. From 7 to 9 p.m. You can grab a bite to eat. We have popcorn, so hang out with us. And then we have the Q&A session afterwards, so we'll be discussing it, and you can get some of the questions that you've had answered by the experts here.
There you go. Well, great. It's been a great show, Chris.
Yes, most definitely.
And of course, those of you in the viewing audience, please share, like, distribute, you know, let everybody know that we're here and we're doing this. For those of you who have some really good information to share with us, we'd love for you to come on and do just that. Share with us what you've got and let's expose it to the world. We want to thank our brother Doyle Mitchell once again for coming in and sharing with us what he does, and committing to coming back and offering us that financial literacy that is
Talk
so
about
needed.
Black Wall Street next time.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to. So, with that,
Well, that's it, guys. Until next time, this has been the Elife Power Lunch Show with Dr. Baruch and Chris Murray. Take care, guys.
So you all actually gonna show it tonight?
the movie is
Yeah.
gonna be